We are licensed therapists, but we probably aren't your therapist. While we may share helpful information about mental health, it is best to form your individual care plan with your own mental health professional. If we are your therapist, hi. While this podcast shares nuggets of wisdom about mental health, we are sharing many pieces of who we are outside of the therapy room and doing a lot of yapping about nonsense, our own healing work, and some about sex and dating. If you feel listening to this podcast may interfere with your work in therapy, please refrain from doing so. While we're on the subject, any notes from our dating lives have been changed to protect the privacy of our partners and ourselves. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to the Healing Journey podcast. I'm Lindsay Camp.
I'm Ilyse Kennedy. This is the podcast where two therapist besties interview those on their healing journeys and healers who have helped along the way. Today, we are talking about mediumship, which is an avenue that both of us have gone down in our healing journeys. We've worked with this particular medium before, and she's even said to us, sometimes I worry that nothing will come through because I see you guys so often. And yet we keep hearing from the other side. Yeah.
We're so excited. We're here with Tara Bonner. She's a psychic medium, etc. She'll explain herself in a little bit. But Tara, your work has been so important for me in my grief around losing my mom. Like, I'm craving more of my mom after she passed, and our work with her has been such a way to get that need met. It's been so beautiful. And the stuff that she's channeled and shared has just like blown my mind and made me cry every time. It's been just really incredible.
And I never got to meet your mom in this world. And so mediumship has actually been the only way that I've gotten to meet your mom, which has been really special. We always do our sessions together. And so I get to witness you in it, but it's also been like, I think I've said before, it kind of feels like we're in high school or something, and we're like over at your house after school, and your mom is there kind of watching over both of us. So there's been something really special about doing this together.
We're like 90 seconds in and I'm crying already.
It's going to happen.
I know. I love it.
What have you found that you've kind of used mediumship for in your grief journey?
Yeah. When my mom passed, she was such a big life force and had so much presence and so much that she gave. And so when she died, it was like a vacuum.
Yeah.
And I could still like feel memories and stuff like that, but I needed her ongoing. And so being able to connect with her through mediumship has given me both her in this moment and also like healing for some past stuff that I would have never gotten. In my 38 years of life, hadn't gotten it from her on this earth. And so being able to tend to some past stuff, but also having access to her, like moving forward and like knowing like, oh, it's not done. Like I can connect with her again. Has been just transformative for my grief. Like I'm not just stuck in, oh, I never get her again.
Yeah.
She's more expansive through the connection.
Mine has come more from a place of anxiety. And I actually think it's done a lot for, the self-awareness around it has done a lot for healing my anxious attachment shit.
Name them.
Usually, often when I'm connecting to the other side, it's usually my grandparents who are coming through. And it's been funny because my grandfather always is trying to give financial advice, which makes a lot of sense. And then my grandmother, even from the other side, she's like, oh, I don't know if I should come in. And she has this very gentle presence that's really sweet. But usually I'm trying to get a grasp on what's happening in my love life, and it purely comes from a place of anxiety.
You're using our precious minutes with Tara and the
I
other
know.
side to
I
figure out
know.
what 832 and 512 and 617 are up to.
Yes, I hear that. I hear that, and I'm taking it in. And so far, nothing has proven fruitful. So that's okay. Although we've heard for a few sessions that something is going down in February.
That's right. That's
and
right.
We're like a week away.
You have something to
So
look
I'm
forward to
ready.
in February.
I'm ready. Anything that happens this week isn't going to count because February is the month.
You should just stay home this week.
Maybe.
You won't.
Well, I mean, I won't take anything seriously this week.
Okay, well, let's welcome today's guest, Tara Bonner of Heartseed Healing.
Hi, y'all.
Oh, we're so glad to have you, Tara.
It's good to be here.
So glad to have
and
you.
look, we're all dressed up and not in our pajamas.
Proud of us. All right, Tara, tell us a little bit about what you do, who you are.
So Tara Bonner, I am a psychic medium, a tarot reader, and also an intuitive energy worker. My story is wild how we got here. But basically, I started Heartseed Healing officially maybe 2.5 years ago.
Congrats.
Thank you. It's been very exciting. Interestingly enough, I was working on some trademark material and was asked when was the first time that you used this trademark of Heartseed Healing and when did you provide it publicly? And it was fascinating because I had to go back through a bunch of documents and I found a note from 2018.
Stop.
Yep. That had Heartseed Healing with the question mark. I remember specifically it came to me during a meditation and I had no clue what it was for. I was not actively doing this work. I had just started my journey as a Reiki healer and boom, there it was. And so it was really exciting to kind of look back and just flash forward to see how really just a little seed literally has sprouted and grown. So it's pretty cool. So yep, I absolutely do psychic mediumship where I connect with the other side, past loved ones. Sometimes we hear from folks we do not expect to hear from. One of my experiences was with a very famous psychic medium, John Edward. My grandmother came through, which I was very grateful for. It was a very large group. And then my best friend's late ex-husband came through, who was the last person that I wanted to hear from. However, that was a lesson on multiple levels, but I feel like that was the true connection where I knew this is real because I was receiving it personally. You know, I feel like skepticism is beautiful. I think it's important. Cynicism is where I just get exhausted by. I mean, really. Yeah. And I think that's with anything, but specifically around the work that I do. So yeah, it's John Edward, speaking of, he actually said he brought those two in. He read someone else. He comes back and he points directly at me and he says, "You're a healer." He's like, "You're going to be doing something similar to Reiki, but not exactly Reiki." And here I am. Less than a decade later, I thought he'd lost his damn mind. And here we are.
Oh, Tara.
So yeah, it's been pretty cool just to watch it all happen. A friend of mine calls me QT, Quantum Tara, because she's like, what you have done in the last 2 years has taken me a decade. So I feel like once we're on our paths, things just align and unfold.
So John Edwards was the start. When did you first discover your gift as a psychic medium?
Yeah. So in retrospect, always been sensitive.
Yeah.
My go-to story that I share with folks when they ask is if I rewind back to 7th grade, I was in English class and it was the year of the Olympics and the teacher had posters of Olympians atop of the classroom. And out of nowhere, I look to the little girl next to me and I point to a guy who's pole vaulting. And I remember kind of like nervously giggling and saying, "Doesn't it look like that man's falling from a telephone pole?" Y'all, she burst into tears. Her father had literally just passed from falling from a telephone pole. So I got goosies to this day when I tell this story.
I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah.
Right now.
And so, in retrospect, I feel like there were things around me, obviously like that, but I just would pass it off as odd coincidence. Another time I remember, I think I was in high school and my father had walked in to tell me that someone's mom had passed, and I thought we'd already had the conversation. Because it's the knowing, right? It's that intuition. So it's been around, but I think it was back in 2017. Actually, it was after John Edward, when he told me that. Funny enough, that day I had read an article in O Magazine about a Reiki healer who quit her day job and did that full time. She was having some health issues, and I was kind of dealing with some thyroid issues and all over the place at the time. And other than that, y'all, I really didn't know what Reiki was. I had a massage therapist and I'd heard the word, but I didn't really know what it was. And so for him to point to me that day and say, hey, this is what your path is, I thought he was out of his mind.
What path were you, sorry to interrupt you, but what path were you on? What were you up to?
Yeah, good question. You name it, I've done it. I've been a realtor. I've been a property manager.
Stop.
I've been a leasing agent, so a lot of real estate. The job before this last one, I was in corporate America behind a computer in a cubicle. And talk about being a sensitive in corporate America.
Oh, yeah. Overhead
Holy
lights.
crap, y'all.
Yeah, all of it.
Literally, there was a guy next to me who liked to drink, and I could feel it. And so that was part of my path. So John Edward says, hey, you're going to be a Reiki healer. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Well, I went and checked out what Reiki was. And I tell my clients who come in for energy sessions, I was like, the first time I had Reiki, I thought it was a load of shit. I was like, it was an old smelly lady who just kept saying, can you feel that? Can you feel that? I was like, I got nothing. In retrospect, I do feel like there was some clearing and some work done, but when you don't know what to expect, it's kind of weird the first couple times. And so, after that, I was curious. And so I ended up finding, I saw a psychic medium and found out she was a Reiki teacher. So I also lost my mom when I was younger. I was 15. And that's how I found John Edward, because he had that famous show Crossing Over in the 90s. And that's where it was kind of a connection, even though it wasn't personal, it was still a connection to realize that there was more. So I ended up going through my Reiki classes, 3 of them, I think, 1, 2, and then Reiki Master. And when I was working on students, my left knee, in one particular case early on, kept wanting to literally block out on me. And I finally was just like, what is up with my knee? And the guy next to me was like, ask the student who you're working on what's up with her knee. And sure enough, she had had 6 knee surgeries. And so that's when I realized what a true empath I was. And to this day, one of my main clairs is clairsentience, where I feel things. So if I've got a spirit who's coming in, usually I feel in my body either something that was happening in their life or something around their passing. And so the catch is I didn't know to clear my energy afterwards. So I literally hobbled for a week. Now I've learned to clear the energy and move forward. So yeah, it's pretty wild. Just the random way that I got here. But I tell people, and I really genuinely believe this, if there's something that you enjoy, something that you like, that makes heart sparks. And literally, if we follow those heart sparks, what it does, it ignites that next little fire. And then before you know it, your entire path is well lit. And that's exactly how I've gotten to where I am.
We like yapping together, so this is our heart spark.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it will continue just to light the way.
I've got a pop-in question.
Of course.
So you mentioned Claire. Tell me again which one.
Yep. Claire's sentience. And
Can
that's
you
where
name
we
all
feel.
of them for us?
Yeah, I will do my best.
Okay.
What do you think I am, a professional? So Claire's sentience, again, that's where I feel. And again, people ask me, does it hurt? For the most part, no. It's just I may lose my breath if I've got someone who had breathing issues, but it's very quick and passing. So that is one of my main clairs. Another one of my main clairs has been really tricky for me. It is claircognizance. And that is has, where you just kind of get a download, a drop in, and you know something, and you have no clue how you get that. And then there's clairvoyance, where we see. And so the way that works for me, for instance, I just brought through a woman a couple weeks ago who I knew that there was a trach involved. And so I could feel it first. And so I was like, that's what I think a trach would feel like. And then when I was second guessing myself, my guide, who I call Team Spirit, literally flashed me the commercial from the 80s with a woman who was smoking a cigarette through her trach. And so that was the clairvoyance for me. It was just that little like, yep, this is it. And so those two worked together. And then I knew to talk about a tracheotomy. Right. And then there's clairaudience, where you hear. Some people I'm so envious of. They literally can hear like word for word. I don't get that. I will get like song clips. And a lot of times I even tell my clients, like, you'll hear me say, well, they're saying, and that's really more of my claircognizance, where I just know. But I've learned, just for humans, it's much easier just to say I'm hearing, they're saying, because it comes out so clear. So yeah, I think I covered them all. There's another one, and I can't remember what it's called, but where I can get smells occasionally too. I don't remember.
So how do you think meeting with a medium can help somebody move through their grieving process?
Yeah, I love that question. I think a big one, honestly, is it allows you to access a part of you that maybe isn't readily available at all times, if that makes sense. It can definitely bring up memories. And I think memories in general are just such a beautiful gift. As someone who actually had brain surgery several years ago, there was a short time where I had no memory, with like short-term memory, some long-term memory. And now I know what a true gift it is. But I feel like just those little snippets of like, I worked with a woman yesterday and her late husband came through and the man was hysterical. And so with a good medium, I feel like one of the things that we try to do is kind of bring through their personalities as well. You know what I mean? And so this guy was cracking jokes left and right. Some of it was so inappropriate, I didn't want to share it, but that's how he was, you know? And a funny story in particular with this one, I tend to meditate ahead of time and just kind of get anything that's kind of floating in the ethers. And I wrote down hamburger and I was like, what the hell is this? And I never know really what's coming through. So I'm talking to her and I was like, there's something around a joke and a hamburger. And she's like, I got nothing. And so she was actually an energy session client. She's on my table and I'm working through her. And all of a sudden she's like, the hamburger. And I was like, what? And she's like, we would get drunk and we would be in Ubers and we would go through the drive-through at Whataburger. And it was always a thing. She's like, but I video it. She's like, I have multiple videos of this. And we were laughing hysterically as we went. So it's just those little things, but it totally brought up that memory. And it was also proof to her that he knows that she's still watching those videos. It was so beautiful. I mean, yeah, it's so great. I love it. So I feel like, again, memory is such a positive, sometimes negative emotion, but I think it's so important to feel. And that's what mediumship does, is it really helps people feel.
Is there anything else that's such an important piece for people grieving? I think sometimes it's hard to feel it.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. I will say, I think that is one of the hardest pieces for me as a medium, working with people who are grieving. They feel like they have to come through me to feel. But I really try to remind people that we can still get those little snippets of folks around us. But we kind of have to tune in a little bit more. It's like you're not going to get hit in the face with a cardinal. I mean, some people, cardinals really are a sign, you know what I mean? But I think it's just those subtleties. And that is the difference. That's the one thing that I was actually just talking to one of my best friends today about meditation. She's like, when I meditate, I get nothing. It's just blank. I was like, that's how it's supposed to be. I was like, you're expecting like an alien to fall out of the sky and smack you and give you all this stuff. I was like, it doesn't work like that. Literally, the messages come through so subtly. And the more you use your intuition, your third eye, the stronger it gets. It's like any muscle. And I mean, I've even watched it in the last 2 years. It's night and day how I can bring through, probably even since I started working with y'all, I feel like it's shifted a little bit. And just the way that I receive information. I also always set the intention to help me translate and clearly communicate whatever messages come through, because again, I don't hear word for word. So I'm getting snippets of my memories. One of you, I can't remember which one. And that's the other thing. A lot of times I don't remember what comes through my sessions because it literally comes through you. But I remember this specifically because my grandmother, 1980s grandmother, wore gaudy jewelry. And one of you have a grandmother who wears like costume jewelry. And so it's funny. That's kind of one of those things that I feel like we talked about. Mm-hmm. And so, it's just those little details. It's like not every grandmother in the 80s wore gaudy costume jewelry, but mine sure did. And I love that they use my grandmother, who's also on the other side, to bring through messages like that.
What else have you learned about grief in this work?
Yeah. So also because, I am a psychic medium, but I also do the intuitive energy work. And so that's along the lines of Reiki. What I do isn't exactly like it, but that's where I got my foundation. So I work through the different chakras and I receive information kind of as I'm going. That's why I call it an energy session and not Reiki, because it's definitely not like your average Reiki session, because I tend to channel and get information. And of course, when we get to that heart chakra, that's where we have a whole lot of wounds, for lack of a better term. But that's a space where I can feel grief. And even personally, I went through a divorce a few years ago. Man, talk about grief. You know what I mean? So of course there's heartache in multiple ways, but also even when you don't have technically heartache in losing a lover or losing a family member to death or otherwise, because obviously grief comes up in other ways as well. But I feel like it's just one of those things that is so important to feel. And I think so many of us are so good at just blocking it. I drank for years, y'all. I was a heavy drinker. In retrospect, I was just numbing, and we all have our vices and our moments, but that was one way that I just kept closing it in. But another way that people grieve is not having their life look the way that they thought it was going to be. That's a big one. People just straight up tell me, I'm so jealous of what you do and how you do it and this and that. I also put a lot of work into it. Yes, I have intuition that's a little bit more heightened than others, but just like a sports player or a musician, I practice it and it's gotten better, right? And so, but I feel like sometimes people think, oh, I'm going to be married by the time I'm 25. I'm going to have children by the time I'm 32. I'm going to have this house. I'm going to have this promotion. And if it doesn't go, people grieve that. And it's interesting because, again, I feel and read energy and it shows up in our chakras and it literally will get kind of stuck. So I love when people come in and that stuff comes out because we can literally just kind of help clear it. And I think, I also read tarot. And so through the tarot and the energy work, it's like such a reflective space for people to really like delve in. Like with tarot, for example, I pull past, current, future, and then flip the bottom of the deck to kind of see what else is going on. People get really anxious about that future card, but I tell them we still have free will. Yeah. And so literally, if I pull something that you like, use that to your advantage, use that energy and pull it in. If I pull something you don't like, change it. You know what I mean? And I genuinely believe that. I do feel like there are certain folks that rely completely on what psychics say. And I do believe, getting a look, but I do believe that like what psychics, a good psychic or a true psychic, I should say, we do actually get glimpses of the future. But with that being said, I also feel like there's always 4 or 5 different paths and literally things can shift or change. So what we are reading is literally what is currently on par, but that doesn't mean you're going to not want a coffee and pull off on the side of the road, stop, hang out here for a little bit, and that reroutes you. You know what I mean?
One thing that's really interesting is, so I know you probably wouldn't remember this, but I first came upon Tara I went to
a birthday
party and she was reading tarot. And I still have the picture in my phone, but I can also, I have the image of that card pull. And when you pulled my cards, I was in the midst of a very difficult, chaotic time that didn't end up culminating until August, or I guess it was September, when I had my pulmonary embolism. But in that card pull, I remember one of my future cards was the sun, and that kept coming to me as a symbol in different ways throughout the year. And
it matches your Leo.
It does match my Leo too.
And also, just for people who don't know what the sun card represents in tarot, that's joy and happiness.
Yeah.
I smile so big when that card comes out, because it usually means that we're moving into a brighter space, or we've arrived at a brighter space.
Yeah. But what I took from that, and what usually I get when I'm seeking something through the cards or through connecting with the other side, is it gives me a lot of hope. I think I still held that image of that card pull, because I was okay, I'm in a really tough time right now, but something is telling me that I'm going to pull
the
through
sun will
it.
come out.
Yes. Well,
I mean, really,
the sun came out. I did move through the tough time, and I'm experiencing now what the cards had said. But I think even that hopeful outlook, not to be a silver lining or to push down trauma, but it can just be a comfort that right now I'm in a really difficult season, but the sun card is coming, or whatever it is.
Your February love story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so to speak of that, funny enough, as you were talking about that, I got another month. And so with that being said, that doesn't mean that you won't meet that person in February, but the month of May feels significant for you as well.
Oh.
So who knows, that could be next level, right?
Yeah.
So,
and that's also Camilla's birthday month, my daughter's birthday month.
I love that.
So we're going to shift into seeing what happens in a little mediumship session.
Cool. So I know I've worked with y'all obviously before, and I always get nervous with y'all because I work with you so often. We're going to run out of folks. So with that being said, keep an open mind. So far, so good, right? And that's the other thing is, as part of my journey is just having to learn to lean in and trust spirit. And so only one time did someone not come through, and come to find out she hadn't lost anyone. And so I was like, okay, that makes sense. She was there for our energy session. So couple of just ground rules just to kind of get an idea of what I usually tell folks. So my joke is, don't feed the medium unless it's tacos. With that being said, sometimes people get really excited when I start making connections and literally give me the whole life story. And I'm like, what am I here for? With that being said, I will speak on behalf of spirit. I do appreciate, yep, I can take that. Nope, that doesn't make sense. I've worked with you both, so I know that I've quote unquote proven myself, but especially like I said, if I've got a skeptic, I want to be able to give at least enough information to where yep, that's definitely so-and-so. So never know who can come through. It can be someone close to us. Literally a couple weeks ago, I brought through someone's electrician. So, but interesting story with that. I was like, why is your electrician coming through? And I had specifics around their passing. It was a weird passing. So it was without a doubt who it was. And it was basically them coming through with the message, letting her know that her kindness rippled in places that she didn't even realize. Yeah. Really just beautiful, Her electrician obviously was the last person in the world she she expected to hear from, but that's exactly what his message was.
Oh,
I got
that's
goosey.
so
Isn't it beautiful?
cool. That's
Yeah,
so
it's so
cool.
cool. I learn every day, y'all. It's so rad. So with that being said, keep an open mind. I've also learned to say I've got more feminine or masculine energy. Part of that is obviously because folks are also non-binary, but also because I've had some really masculine grandmas come through and I've clocked them for grandpas. So keep that open mind. Usually I can kind of tune in and get information like that. Another thing, every medium's different how we receive information. Some people are really great with names, me not so much. I play a really great violin, but I'm not great at the stand-up bass. And so it's just a different skill set. With that being said, earlier I did kind of have a name, but that could be associated with something else. So we'll kind of go from there. Any questions?
No.
So
All right. So I actually am going to just kind of give us a minute and just kind of blend our energies. I know we did this before the start of the podcast, but I'd still like to kind of do that now and just kind of recenter us and refocus. So what I like to do is just envision from the base of your spine, bottom of your feet, roots going down, and then we're going to wrap around the core of the earth, bring that energy up through the center of our body, hold our breath, and then pop it out the top of your head like a fountain. Include us in the bubble, and anyone else you would like to step forward, wrap back around. Nice, slow, easy inhale. 2, 3, 4. Fountain at the top of your head. And then one more. All right, thanks. All right, let's see what we've got. So I do tend to meditate ahead of time and kind of write down some things. So I'm going to go off of one that was kind of coming through earlier, and then we'll go from there. I feel like it's feminine energy. I also feel like I've got high blood pressure or some kind of levels that are going up and down. Definitely feels more like high blood pressure. Also headache and nausea. Definitely feel nauseated. If I start gagging, that's why. And yeah, really bad headache. I actually wonder if, I do feel like I've got a woman. I wonder if she had a stroke or something neurological as well. Does this make sense for either of you?
Usually with health stuff, it's my mom. But I don't want to jump to that.
Yeah, so, but
that all
are those
tracks.
all
Yeah,
tracking?
that all
Okay.
tracks.
I wouldn't be shocked if your mom's like, of course I'm going to be here at the table at this podcast, because that's how that works.
And
But
she's usually busting in.
Yeah, exactly.
She's usually
It's
trying
funny,
to get in
you're
there.
wearing red, and that is definitely one of her colors.
I know.
Oh, you do? Yeah. No, she like, that is one of her colors, honey, is red. Like, she's got that big, bright, bold energy. So
I know.
Yeah. She's with you. All right, so let's keep going with this. And I am covered in my goosies, which is my check mark. So can I have her first name?
Karen.
Hi, Karen. So a couple of the ways that folks will kind of bring through information, they'll give me numbers and sets. And so a lot of times we're talking about the amount of children or grandchildren or even siblings. Were there 3 of you?
Mm-mm.
you, Trevor, Shaylee.
Oh, there's 3. Well, yeah, kind of. There's a couple different ways. Yeah.
Okay. Feels like 3 children is kind of what are being grouped in.
Yeah, she claims Shaylee, so yes.
Yeah. And so that's the other beautiful thing that I've learned in doing this work. Sometimes they will literally still claim people on the other side. And also, the tragedy of it is they will also claim children that they've lost. So either, you get the idea.
Well, Shaylee's my sister-in-law. She's still with us.
Absolutely.
Thankfully.
Yeah. So, but I feel like she's highlighting the 3 children. Yeah. So that totally makes sense to me.
Why'd you draw, can I ask why you drew a heart?
It just came out.
Hearts were her, like.
Is that her thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
They're all over our house. Like it was one of the last, she bought a bunch of these glass hearts before she died and she gave them to everybody. And she was like, these hearts are so important to me, and I want everybody to have one of
I love that.
these.
Yeah, no, it literally just came out
Yeah.
whenever I wrote it there. I do write a lot of hearts. I'm Heartseed Healing,
Of course,
but that
course.
one like automatically just was like, psh, psh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I love that. And that's one of those little ways. So that's another great example. So yes, you're sitting here with me. You saw this, but when you start seeing the repetitive patterns, that is another way that spirit will talk to you, you know? So for you, it's hearts. I bet you see hearts in places that you would have never seen hearts before. But it literally just kind of refocuses our filter is the best way to describe it. So I actually love that you brought that up. Was she a smoker or have breathing issues?
Breathing issues, yes. Marijuana in her younger years.
It's not that. I know what that feels like from my younger years. Breathing issues is literally just kind of what's coming through. And I know that I mentioned a stroke. Did you have something neurological or a stroke as well?
Neurological, yes.
Okay. So for me personally, anytime that the left side of my head kind of, I'll use the term lights up, that to me is a signifier of neuro issues. So with that, I always kind of dig in. I usually say it's either dementia, stroke, possibly an aneurysm, that type of energy. And so, yeah, that's one of those spaces that I feel that in my body. And I know this is annoying too, because literally I'm sure that we go through this every single time. And it's, you know, and it's one of the things that's uncomfortable for those who kind of have to rehear what was happening. But it's also just one of the ways that they show that, yep, this is legit me. This is, you know, it's one of those proofs. So I know you're wearing red and we already talked about red. Do you, or did she have red shoes? Red shoes is coming through as well.
Yeah.
Like either it was a thing or there's a photograph of red shoes specifically. And it doesn't feel like Dorothy's red shoes. Funny enough, I keep hearing this song. Here's that clear audience. Put on your red shoes and dance with me.
Oh.
David Bowie.
Oh.
So yeah, I feel like there's something either significant around that song or red shoes specifically. Again, it doesn't feel like Dorothy and the ruby slippers. So put that in your pocket for later. I can send you home with this as well. Normally I get you guys to take notes. I also feel really, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep talking about how I'm feeling. I also feel really dizzy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And with her passing, feels like a very quick decline. Does that make sense to you? Like we're going along okay, and then like within a week even, it's just like everything just kind of starts to shut down. Does that make sense? I'm sorry, honey. I made cookies with my mom. Particularly, she would make the oatmeal and I would make the chocolate chip cookies. And it was always kind of like, you're better at that. You're better at that. Was there something like that where one of you would like always like, you were known for this, and if you tried to do it, you'd screw it up? Does that make sense? Because for some reason, I'm literally seeing like the chocolate chip cookies and the oatmeal cookies. So I feel like there's either a story around like you tried to make something and it just did not come to par. Even possibly with a recent holiday. Did you recreate something like around maybe Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Okay. What was that?
A Toll House pie.
Okay. There's the cookies. I was like, all right. Yeah. And it flopped.
It flopped.
Yeah. That's exactly what this feels like. I was like, nope, something did not go right.
Yeah.
And I kept seeing chocolate chip cookies. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
She's teasing you.
She sure is.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if she was much of a cook though.
Oh, she was.
Was she?
She'll correct you on that.
I was going to say, give me a second. She'll put me in my place. Maybe she's teasing you because I'm going to say it, because you fucked up a Toll House pie is literally what that is.
Is she giving me a little too big for your britches energy?
I don't know, you tell me.
Yeah.
And so that's the other part, right? Like, this is the beautiful part about when we connect, is that we can like genuinely feel, and you get your own messages. We start to second guess ourselves, but if we just kind of tune in, you heard it, right? And so it's kind of that energy. Let's see. All right, Karen. Okay, I feel like we're going back to weird like childhood memories. I was at Six Flags as a kid, and I grabbed my grandfather's hand and started walking with him, and I looked up and it was a stranger. Is there something like that? Like, that's exactly how she's showing me. It's like a moment where you like either wandered off with the wrong family or you wandered off with the wrong person. I know that's very particular. And also stay open. This could be a message for you as well.
I'm not recalling.
Okay. I mean, it's so specific.
And it was me that wandered off.
Well, they're showing me one of my memories. And so that's how that works. Okay. But I feel like it, or there's a story around someone wandering off with another family is literally what it feels like.
My brother.
Okay. I was like, someone wandered off with another family, and it was a whole thing.
It was a huge thing.
Okay. Like, I feel like it was even teased like, well, you can have them. Like, kind of that energy. Yeah, it's a whole thing. That's why it's being brought up.
Yeah. It's actually, that's one of my first memories of panic in my body and anxiety. And I could feel my parents' anxiety, and mine was just going up, because I could feel theirs.
You could feel theirs.
Yeah.
That's being an empath right there.
I know.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I want to say she's kind of laughing about it now. It's like literally like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so specific. Like, they literally just showed me a memory of me like walking along with someone else's grandpa, thinking it was mine. Okay, let's see what else we have. Did you have communication issues with her, or did she have either difficult communicating through life or towards the end of her life?
Yes. Yeah, Tara. Yeah.
My throat is literally like right now.
Yeah. I didn't mean to come off snarky at you.
I didn't take it that way, but funny enough, I feel like that's also how she would have answered.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It was like almost the same tone on her side whenever I asked the question.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm sorry. But yeah, my throat was literally like, and I was like, I don't think this is physical. I feel like this is communication issues. All right, let's see what else we have. I've got like, I feel like I'm having parties. Not just like Christmas or Thanksgiving. I feel like I've got parties and I've got like dishes for the parties. Is this you?
Possibly.
Do you have those dishes? Yeah. Funny enough, she's like, why aren't you using them?
Well, because they're in California at my ex-husband's house. They're on their way to me.
Okay.
They're on their, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay. Have a party when you get them.
Yeah.
Literally, that's what that feels like. I was like, why aren't you using the dishes? Is literally how it was coming through.
They're in a box.
Yeah.
They're on their way.
Beautiful. I love it. Literally, have a party.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's the hostess with the mostest is what she's bragging as.
Yeah. She was a little socialite.
And that's how it feels. But yeah, I was like, there's something with dishes and someone has them and is not using them. So that makes sense. Do you know if there's also a set of crystal glasses along with this, like drinking glasses?
I'm not sure.
Or I know that you said your ex-husband. Did you toast with like hand-me-down crystal glasses?
Mm-mm.
There's something about a set of crystal glasses. And I feel like it's two. Fancy champagne, but not quite champagne.
Okay.
Put that in your pocket. I feel like it's going to come up in some form or fashion. And again, it feels like I really feel like we toasted, not you obviously, but we toasted with like that was something old, something borrowed. It's kind of like along the lines of that. But again, it feels like crystal or crystal glasses. Anyone in your family that you can think of?
No.
Okay.
She would have had all of that, but I don't have a super clear connection to it.
It really does. It feels like I'm using it to toast like at a wedding. So maybe you're getting remarried and maybe we do that. I don't know, but
how dare you?
Past, present, future. It's all a blur. Is your dad dating?
Yes.
Yeah. Mom just brought that through.
What'd she say?
Are they talking about actually moving in together?
Yeah.
Yeah, that feels good. Just FYI.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like once we wrap up, it's like, all right, let's give this a whirl. Are you having issues with him leaving the house?
Kind of, yeah.
Literally, it's like, and it's interesting. I don't know if he's actually going to sell it. But feels like there's concern specifically around you and the absence of that energy there. With that being said, she is with you anywhere that you are. Yeah. I feel like that's a very specific message for today. I think that's why we went down this path. Yeah. So literally it's like the memories will still be with you. We talked about memories at the beginning of the hour.
Yeah. I've said that to my dad before, that there's, that I have so much attachment to the house because of her, but I also know that she's with me everywhere else. But there's like, I just really feel her there.
I understand. Yeah, absolutely. And so, but I think that's why she's bringing this up. It's like literally like, it's going to be okay. I promise you, I'll go with you. And you can take things from the home as well. I feel like your dad will easily give you whatever you want. One of them have a dog.
Tara, stop. I was like, we're going to have a dog. There's a dog piece about to come. And I was thinking about, because I have the belief that Ilyse's dog, when she passed, my mom greeted her. And so I was literally just thinking about that right now.
Yeah. So, yep, there's something around a dog.
Yeah.
That's interesting that you were like just thinking about it. And I'm like, let's talk about the dog.
Literally, I was like, I'm going to ask. Mm-hmm. That's funny.
So what were you going to ask?
I wanted to ask, like, I just was curious if my mom wants to share anything about the dogs that she's got with her, because she's got dogs with her. And I'm just curious if she wants to talk about that.
Was one known for peeing?
Probably Dreidel.
Dreidel girl.
Yeah. Like I smell pee, dog pee.
Yeah, it's probably my dog.
Yeah. I'm like, I smell dog pee.
Yeah.
I have a cat that I love and I tell her she's almost perfect every day, but she poops about 2 feet away from the box most days. And that's kind of the energy of this. It's like, yeah, I could, but I didn't.
That's very Dreidel.
She did it to spite my
Very
ex-husband.
Dreidel.
Yeah, that's what this feels like. It's like I could, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Was she a little heavier for what she was?
She fluctuated in weight. Some people told her to lose a few pounds.
She feels a little fluffy.
Yeah, definitely.
So either actually fluffy or both.
Both.
Okay.
Both. Yeah.
Curly hair?
Mm-hmm.
Poodle in her?
Mm-hmm.
And would she have been a lighter color?
Yes.
Golden?
White.
Okay. I was like, white or golden is literally, she's like, I was an angel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Golden is literally how she's coming through. And I think it's like that angelic energy. That's hysterical. Trying to be sensitive in how I word this. Do you feel like you waited a little too long for her, the end of her life?
A little too long.
That's how it feels.
Yeah.
With that being said, she's fine with it.
Yeah.
But she's just acknowledging, like, we stretched it out a little longer than we should have.
Yeah.
And you knew it.
Yeah.
Did her collar have a bow on it?
Mm-hmm.
she was your little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Little girl. Like, that's how she's like, I was her little girl. Was she there before your children?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was like, no, I was the first.
Yeah.
Like, little girl. She get grumpy at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, she always was a little grumpy.
I'm literally seeing like a snarl.
Yeah.
Sure, her teeth give her issues.
Mm-hmm. Sure did.
With all this being said, she'll see you again.
Oh.
Yeah, literally. She's gonna be there to greet you when it's your time.
Oh.
Yep. Boing, 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 boing. Mhm. What was her name?
Dreidel.
Dreidel. Adorable. 3 dogs with your mom?
Literally buried with her, like in her
Okay.
casket.
There we go. I was like, she's talking about 3 dogs. I love that. I always have tissues with me, and I don't have any with me. They're in the other room. Yeah, she's highlighting the 3 dogs. I can't believe that they were with her. Literally, that's amazing.
We put them, when we
Mhm.
buried her, we took them to the guy. We were like, "Can you put these in her casket?"
I
And
love
it's like
that.
for,
Yeah.
yeah.
She's highlighting the 3 dogs.
I can't emphasize enough how big of a dog person she was.
Yeah. She has a good sense of humor now because we talked about the 3 dogs. Literally keep hearing 3 dog night. And with that being said, I think she's literally just trying to lighten the mood.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she was comfortable being uncomfortable.
Nope.
All right, y'all. I think that's what I got, unless there's anyone else you were hoping to hear from.
I don't think so. Tara, thank you so much.
I need a nap.
I feel like you just worked hard.
Definitely.
You just worked hard.
Where can our listeners find you?
Heartseedhealing.com. And I'm also on social media, Instagram, and I will post usually Sunday evening by Monday morning, where I'm going to be that week. So I've got 2 tarot residencies. One of them is at Brentwood Social House on Thursdays from 11 to 2. And then I moved tarot Tuesdays to Thursday nights at House Wine off of South First. They moved, super great, bigger location. So that's
Cool.
exciting. And then I usually do at least 2 different pop-ups around town, sometimes as far south as New Braunfels. And that again will be posted. And then I'm starting to kind of venture into some group mediumship where I read for folks. So like on the 15th or 16th of the month of February, I will be at the Herb Bar, and I'm going to keep it nice and intimate with like 12 folks and literally just kind of like this, see who comes through and go from there. Looking forward to that. I also I love doing group mediumships. So for families or just a group of friends, it's just a nice kind of unique way of doing things. And then of course with my tarot, I do parties. That's how I met you, Ilyse.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's around town. And was super honored. So I've only been doing this for a couple of years, and my very first full year, I got voted as one of the top psychics in the Austin Chronicle.
Yeah, she did.
Tarot and psychic.
Ooh.
So, and that's coming around again. So I hope to be nominated again
Yeah,
because that's super cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, super fun.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for being
absolutely.
with us.
Love y'all. I love connecting with you. It's funny when I'm in their energy, I feel like I'm in your family, you know, so it's beautiful.
Aw.
So, but they're always around us. Just remember that if you take anything away, you know,
Thank you.
and you can talk to them. They hear us. I really genuinely believe that whether we say it out loud, we say it in our head, it's all telepathic.
Thank you for that
so
reminder.
much.
You're welcome.
We love you.
All right. Love you too. Thanks.
Thank you so much for joining us. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe and consider leaving a review. If you have already, thank you. You can find us on all socials at The Healing Journey. You can find us online at www.thehealingjourney.com, and you can shoot us an email at thehealingjourney@gmail.com. Talk soon.